All right, Dan. Dan, it is. This has been a long time in coming. This has been a long time in coming. Thank you for sitting down and doing this. Do you remember how you and I met?
I think you and I met at a nice show or a show maybe where Ice played with Full Contact maybe.
It was you. I forget how you got my number. There was a show that was happening with Strife, and I want to say that band Bloodline. And it was up in like Thousand Oaks or something. And your band, Full Contact, you guys had a show set up, and you thought your show was going to get shut down or like not happen. So you were like, "Hey, can we play your show?" And I was like, "I don't have a problem with it." And like you literally, we didn't know each other. Like you called me, and I was like, "I don't have a problem with any of this."
That's
However,
probably right.
I hadn't put on the show. And so I was like, I don't know if I can do this. And then what ended up happening was my show got canceled, your show didn't get canceled, and then we were friends ever since that moment.
Like a fairy tale, right?
Yeah, exactly. Now, I remember the Full Contact demo. How many songs was that?
Probably five or six, right? I think somewhere in there.
And then you guys, can you explain the recording? Because you rented a 4 track or
No,
something.
no, 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 no. For the demo, we recorded it on like this little. It was
Singleodian.
a Singleodian Studios. Yeah, one of the guys in the band had a Singleodian Studios thing, and we recorded it at the military base I worked at, just in one of our maintenance shops in there.
Now, from what I okay, now the story I remember is you guys got a 4 track, you couldn't figure out how to work it, and then you just went with the Singleodian. Is that
That might have been true.
so? Then you okay? Circling back to the whole military base thing, how did you? Okay, let's go back to kind of the beginning of all this. How did you get into hardcore punk, all that stuff?
You want to go all the way back to
I,
where I got
I I
into
need you to
hardcore?
go all the way back. I
Yeah,
need you to go all
sure.
the way back.
So I was in like high school, and um, a bunch of friends. We used to skateboard a lot, and we used to listen to a lot of like punk, like stuff like Dead Kennedys, Exploited. Um,
Where were you living?
I was living in Illinois, so it was a suburb of Chicago. Yeah. So we used to skate and listen to Dead Kennedys and Black Flag and stuff like that. And then somebody had a agnostic front injustice for all tape, and I was like, what is this garbage? I thought it was terrible. And then I sort of sat down and digested the lyrics of it, and I was just so interested in hardcore music, and like there was like a kind of like a story and something behind the music, not just silly songs or whatever.
And so that sort of kicked off the whole thing. So then from agnostic front, is that like that kind of kicked the whole deal off?
Yeah, agnostic front started probably like my hardcore journey, right? I mean, um, it was agnostic front and like sick of it all, and like um, Youth of Today and Gorilla Biscuits and Bold and a lot of New York hardcore stuff, and I got sort of interested in like the Revelation Records stuff around that time too. Um, so yeah,
Did any of the Orange County stuff kind of figure into that or no?
so there was so Change Strength, right, was big and popular, right? And I remember when I got the chorus album, right? I remember I got that thing, and I was in high school, and I was like, wow, this thing's freaking amazing. It was just so cool, and um, it was fresh, right? So I went from like hardcore listening to like Agnostic Front, and then seeing Gorilla Biscuits play with Judge and Bold when they were on tour, and I was like instantly hooked with like into like straight edge music ever since then.
Gotcha. And then when at this point you're getting older, you're listening to this music. At what point do the Marines and does the military kind of figure into this? Like what was the thought process to they got you into that?
Well, I just decided that I wanted to join the military. I wanted to get out of, the town I grew up in, and I wanted to go see the world and do things. So I signed up for the Marines, man.
Now, was that desire to get out of the world, I mean, to get out into the world and do things, was that desire, because I remember at one point, you wanted to, after the Marines, you wanted to maybe go back to school and become an archaeologist. Did you remember that? Or no? Well, no, I remember we had that discussion because I was like, I never knew anyone that wanted to become an archaeologist. I was like,
Oh
oh,
man,
okay.
that had got to been so. I don't think that was me.
Okay.
That was If that was me, you must have just caught me right after I had like watched an Indiana Jones movie. I don't recall ever wanting to be an archaeologist.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay. In joining the Marines, did you, because like so much of punk and hardcore, so much of that is like anti, I mean, at least that's the idea. The expectation is, you're anti-government, you're anti-this, you're anti-that. Did you ever feel like you were sort of straddling two different worlds doing that, or no?
I think it became pretty clear when I started going to shows out in Southern California that I was sort of an outlier, right? I mean, there wasn't a lot of other Marines going to hardcore punk shows out there, but for me, it was like I never had this identity that like this military vibe. I mean, the Marines were more of a means to an end. They were like it was just an adventure I was on, and the Marines could take me on that adventure. I didn't think of myself being like pro government or anything like that. It was a way to get me out of town and see the
Gotcha.
world.
Gotcha. Um, and then and then within that, like full contact, like I remember some of the like I remember some of the lyrics and all this stuff, and like like even like the song America. And what I always liked about you was, like, to me, that is what punk rock is about. It's about like, hey, like so much about punk rock is okay, this sort of this group think thing of okay, we all sort of feel the same way. And like I believe that in terms of like what I love about punk rock is wanting to help people, the idea of social justice, the idea of social programs, things that can help people. But like what I always enjoyed about you was like you to me, like that outlier. I appreciated that. Like I appreciated, hey, here's a guy that is singing about this stuff, and so it's different than other stuff that other bands are singing about. But isn't that what punk rock should be and hardcore? And did you ever think about that or no?
You know, I wrote most of the lyrics in full contact, and I just wrote about things that I thought were interesting to me. I mean, it's the full contact was different than pretty much every other band in Southern California at the time, right? I mean, we were this kind of this black sheep, so to speak, right? But I just had songs about the things that I thought were interesting, and I was very pro America, right? So I had that song about being pro America, and so it was different, but it wasn't fake. It was what it was about.
Right, right. And that's the thing is I think there's also a difference between being pro America and like loving your country and like I think like like you weren't like you weren't this racist guy. You weren't like it wasn't about that. And that was the thing. I don't know like cuz I mean you were over my house like I just remember you and I was like I was like you had a different outlook, but in my opinion, you were necessary in a lot of ways, especially at that time. At least I think so. So,
Yeah.
um, now, so you do that band. How many shows? Like, because you guys played a lot of shows for Full Contact. You guys played. I mean, for being these outsiders, you guys. I know, like, you were friendly with Ezod at Spanky's and whatnot. And then you like that helped you get on shows, right? Or no?
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, there was a lot of people conspiring against us being on shows, right? But I think
Well, it's like
as a
anything.
result,
It's like who you know.
yeah. But I developed this sort of I'm not gonna say like a friendship with these odds, but I think we have like this sort of understanding, right? And he would put us on a bunch of shows that he needed an opener, and it's like he knew that we weren't going to come to him after the show and expect to get paid after the show. We were just happy to drive to Riverside and play a show.
Right, right. Well, no, that was it's funny. It's funny that you say that, and we've never spoken about this, but like that was how I looked at ice. Like so many shows needed openers, and I was like, I don't care, I'll open because we just like you, we just wanted to play.
Yeah.
And I'm just saying nobody wants to open, and so I was like, okay. But what I always thought was interesting about you guys, this didn't really happen for ice until later, and even when it happened, it didn't really happen. You guys seem to get a following and an audience fairly quickly off that demo, right? Like, I mean, at least as far as I remember it, it seemed like you guys got bigger, with it, through doing those shows.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of sort of interesting shows that we got put on. We got put on some of the kind of the punk shows. We got put on some of the like the oi type shows. Got put on the hardcore shows. There was this big divide, I think, in Southern California hardcore. There was sort of like the backpack crew, right?
Yeah.
The kids that showed up and they wore the backpacks, and then there was like kind of like everyone else, and we were with everyone else. So yeah, we played a lot of shows. I never thought that we were big or anything. I don't think we ever played any big shows, but we developed some people that were pretty interested. There was always a handful of people, that wanted to sing along when we played the shows.